This is a beautiful, beautiful time of year. This is my favorite time of year because it's so fresh. I could do anything. I could really be anybody so far, you know? And by January 10th, I'm like, I'm me. Never mind. I had a lot of plans, but a week and a half. It's so early in the year, it's almost weird if you've already had a bad day. You know what I mean? But this is New York, so you know somebody has. I was on a bus on January 2nd and just heard a guy go, fuck! Just to himself. I don't know what was going on in his life. But January 2nd, he was like, it's over. That's a wrap. Oh, it's crazy. I also love this time of year because it's the last little bit of runoff where you're still trying to return Christmas presents. Like the bad ones. Like you on the phone with customer service, like, no, I have the receipt, please. Like it's... And this is the thing. A lot of people give gifts and everything, but they don't know if they gave a good gift to the person, especially if they don't know them well, right? And my thing is, this is how you tell if it's a good gift in this present day we live in. If you didn't get a gift for someone from a store that was looted in 2020, that's not a good gift. I'm not gonna lie. Do you know what I mean? It's a very easy metric now. Because, look, I'm just saying, everything's free when we looting. And there are brands that know that they didn't get touched. Like, honestly, if I was a shop owner, I would be embarrassed if I showed up the morning after a riot and I get to my store, Nike store ransacked. Louis Vuitton store unrecognizable, and then my store pristine, not even broken glass. I'd be like, I gotta hang it up. I didn't know it would be like this. Can I burn it down and say it was part of the riot? Cause this is a shame. I remember that was a very specific time. This is my favorite thing about any riot that happened in the U.S. in 2020. There were some stores that boarded up that really didn't need to bother. Like. Nobody talks about that, but there are a couple places that were like, oh, we gotta batten down the hatches. Like, no, you really don't, I promise. Nobody is checking for you, okay? There were brands that were feeling themselves. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but you can look this up. This is a real thing that happened. In 2020, during the protests, there were Sweet Greens that boarded up in preparation. Sweet Green. I want to meet the person who made the decision. I want to meet the person who was like, all right, it might get crazy out here in Seattle. And you know it when it gets crazy. You know what niggas love is arugula. So we got to hold it down, all right? Got to protect the inventory, okay? Oh, no. You don't need to bother. You know, I said all that to say if you got me a Christmas present this year, a gift card from Sweet Green, you fucked up. That wasn't the move. You bought me grass. Oh. Have y'all been watching that Squid Game show? Okay, if you haven't watched it, then genuinely, I'm begging you, don't watch it. Okay, if you don't know what Squid Game is as a show, Squid Game, the show is a Korean drama. All right, it's probably one of the best TV shows that we have that fully encapsulates the idea of capitalism and what we do to each other when we're lacking, when we have need, and when there's literal money floating over our heads, the links that will go, right? And even the show becoming a show is a Cinderella story because the guy that wrote it, he pitched it around the world for 10 years and nobody wanted it. Finally, Netflix bought it. They put it up on their platform. It became an international sensation. There's games, there's toys, there's everything. And then they made the game show, which is weird. That's pretty odd, because that means they also watched the show and they saw what a commentary was on the human psyche when it comes to money, when it comes to access and everything. And then they were like, yeah. We should do that. Yes, we should do that. Let's round up these pores and make them battle it out. We'll get 400 of the saddest stories you've ever heard in your fucking life. It's insane. And this is the other reason that I'm begging you not to watch it. Okay? In the show Squid Game, the Korean drama, when you lose, you die. In the game show, when you lose, a pack goes off. It explodes on you, and it's black. It's not red. It's ink. Squid Game, very clever. And it explodes, but they still make the people fall like they died. And it feels like they test running killing a person in front of us. Do you know what I mean? Because when I was watching the show, the first person lost and then they fell. And I was like, that's a little dramatic. All right. And then 12 more people fell. And I was like, wait, are they really killing people on my TV right now? Because if they are, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Because they already shot the show and I'm at home. But can we make sure that for season 2, they don't kill anybody? Because I'm going to finish the show. It's compelling. But it's just a weird thing. I don't know. It's very unsettling because they make all these people tell the saddest parts of their life and they cut to them in the show and you know they're not going to win. Why are you telling me this is a physical American Idol. Why are you telling me the sad story and you know they're not going to get far? That's terrible. It would be a dude with the biggest tearjerker you could ever imagine. He's like, I'm just want to bring money back home for my cousin. He's got cancer herpes and he doesn't have a real house. He got half a house, so I want to pay for him to finish his house because he get rained on anytime it rains sideways a little bit, and so I just want to have a full roof for him to be under, not half a roof, because he really got like half an umbrella over his head right now. And so I just want to do something nice for him because he donated a bunch of his bones to orphans, and so he already didn't have a good life to begin with. And then they zoom out of the person playing the game and you see he's the shortest man that's ever lived. You're like, he's not gonna get far at all. Physical limitations alone. Why are you getting me attached to his story? Or even worse, they'll interview like a smart woman and you'll be like, they not gonna let her get far at all. She gonna slip up and say a big word in front of him and the dumbs are gonna jump on her. She gonna say one of those encyclopedia words that be like, get her out. She look like she can do puzzles. No, so jarred. Are y'all also following this Gypsy Rose thing? Okay. In case you don't know anything about Gypsy Rose, I'll try to bring you up to speed as quickly as possible. Gypsy Rose is a young woman, used to be girl. She was a girl when all this happened. Her mom has Munchausen by proxy, so her mom convinced her she was sick, convinced everyone else she was sick, told people she was sick, raised money for her because she was so sick. So she was like GoFundMe before GoFundMe, right? And so she was like raising all this money and everything. Then Gypsy realizes, hey, I'm not as sick as you're making me out to be. Around the same time that this happens, right? She makes a friend online. They start dating. That becomes her boyfriend, okay? And then she tells her boyfriend, you need to kill my mom so we can be together. I was not in the room when this conversation happened. But the way that I think it went was Gypsy gets close to this person and is like, you're going to have to kill my mom so we can be together. And then he said, I was planning on killing somebody anyway. Because it took so little convincing. This man is clearly out of his mind, right? Killing a mom should be several conversations. You should have to wear me down to kill your mom. If you tell someone, I need you to kill my mom so we can be together, and they go, yup, you are also in danger. That is absolute insanity. He said yes so quick. That's the reddest flag there is. He said it so quick. Once again, I was not in the room, but he agreed to it so fast. I'm pretty sure he finished her sentence. I'm pretty sure she was like, hey, I need you to. He's like, kill your mama, I got it. And she was like, I was going to say pass the remote, but okay. And so then that's what happens. They meet up and then he kills the mom and then they get caught immediately. They get caught so fast. I was genuinely disappointed in them. I was like, you couldn't make it a day. You got caught. They got caught so insanely quickly. And so then they're not together anymore because then they flipped on each other and everything. And it's hard to stay together when you first 48'd each other. Like, but you just immediately like, it was his crazy ass. I said it at once and he did it. And so then Gypsy got way less time than him and she got out. She's out now. She got like 7 years. He got life because I'm pretty sure she only had to remind him once. I'm pretty sure She only had to be like, hey, that thing about killing your mama, yeah, it's on my calendar. All right. And look, I'm just saying, the main thing that they did wrong, besides killing a person, the main thing that they did wrong is that they didn't really understand the internet the way we don't really understand the internet. So all they did was have the most incriminating conversations online, right? I'm pretty sure they Skyped at one point. I was like, can you stop doing recordable stuff? And so then she gets out, and I saw like a TikTok of her, wishing everybody well, thanking everyone for wishing her well and everything, saying Happy New Year's. And then she said something interesting to me. She was like, I'm spending New Year's with my dad, my stepmom, and my husband. I was like, husband? And I was just shocked. I didn't know she had a husband. So I looked into it, and she had met somebody, and they got married in 2022. And I looked him up. Have y'all seen the husband? Yeah. Y'all seen? Okay. That man looks more like the Kevin James meme than Kevin James. I was genuinely blown away. There's a picture of him with Gypsy Rose where he's like, and it's not even a diss. That's just his swag, is that like cheeky, everything. And then apparently some people were coming for him online for some weird reason. I have no idea. And then Gypsy came to his defense, and she was like, it's okay, baby. They're just jealous because the D is fire. You know what? I'm glad you had a happy ending. I'm glad you're okay. I don't know if you've been following this. Maybe not. I just realized how white this room is. I mean, it's pop culture. You probably heard about it. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching this whole Drake and Kendrick. My. What a time to be alive. All right, so Drake and Kendrick, they are rappers, sir. They're rappers. Okay, I want to make sure everybody, and I'm not acting like I know. You might bump Kendrick all the time. You might be a big Pimp a Butterfly fan. I'm just checking. So, Drake and Kendrick's relationship actually goes back way further than people realize, because Drake brought Kendrick with him on tour when Kendrick was like just starting to pop, but Drake was already a big deal, right? And it seemed like they were cool. You see these old interviews, they're in pictures together, they have such nice things to say about each other, and then along the line, something changed. Something happened. And we don't know what that thing is really, but they both started to kind of like go at each other in small ways. And some people take it all the way back to the Control verse. Kendrick did a verse in a song on, it was actually a Big Sean song. Big Sean is a rapper, sir. I just want to, all of these are just names, and I want to make sure that we're all up to speed. So he did a verse on a Big Sean song called Control, but it blew up so much it became Kendrick's verse. It became the Control verse, which is crazy. And in that verse, he went at everybody. He called people out by name, and he said, I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you. I'm trying to make sure that your fans don't even love you anymore. They love me so much. I'm coming for the crown. I'm coming for everything, right? And just about everybody thought that it was actually pretty dope. It was actually like, okay, hip-hop as a sport. Like hip-hop as, a fun thing, a contest to see who's actually the best. Because everybody calls themselves the best on every song. Eventually, someone has to be the best. Every rapper believes that they're the best, and they say so in their music. A lot like how one city will have several First Baptist churches. When you look around, you're like, one of y'all has to actually be first, right? This can't, how can y'all even all claim to be first? This is confusing. You know? And so he releases the Control verse. Now, this is something, maybe this is where it started. It's where a lot of people say it started, but maybe it was something else. But Drake seemed to take some sort of issue with the love that Kendrick was getting for that verse, with him being called out, even though he's someone that helped, Kendrick out in the beginning. But even in interviews, Kendrick explained himself. He said, like, this is a contest to see who's the best. It's all love, right? But Drake has, I'm trying to be fair. Drake has a lot of feelings, and you can tell because he has a lot of albums. And there are feelings on every one of those albums. And some people don't have several albums worth of feelings. Some people only have 4 or 5 albums worth of feelings, And some people decide when to let it out, and he just lets it out on a pretty tight schedule, a pretty regimented schedule of release to let out all of his feelings, And he said, he's like, I just didn't like it. It didn't feel sincere. I just didn't vibe with the whole thing. Because then I saw him later, and he was all nice to me. Yeah. He said in his interview, it was all love. It's just a contest. And then from there, they had like a weirdness. And then there's like little things. You can listen to certain songs where Drake seems to be like digging right at Kendrick, but in a way where you have to really look at it and wonder, right? Not saying his name. And then Kendrick even does a little bit of the same. But even after a little bit of this had kicked off, they still worked together 1 or 2 more times, right? Because Drake was on Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick's album, and Kendrick was on Take Care. So there's still at least a professional relationship there to some degree, right? Fast forward a few years, and Drake's really big. And when I say really big, he's like what Bad Bunny is now, he was back then, like top in the world, right? Everybody wanted to be Drake. Everybody wanted to sing a little bit of Drake. He was #1 on Spotify. Every time he released, it was a big deal. And so some people, admittedly, were very jealous of Drake. There were people who started to go at Drake a little bit. And Drake is a good writer. He may have writers that he works with. He may have... But he's also good. It's like when he's making music, everyone in the room is good. I'm trying to give him his I'm trying to be objective, and y'all are trying to lean me into a way that's... But he's good, and so, Meek Mill is a rapper. Sorry, Meek Mill. Because that one wasn't a name. I just want to make sure that at no point you don't think that this is like punctuation or anything. Because the names are going to get weirder as I go, right? Okay. Meek Mill came at Drake, and Drake really, truly, even if you hate Drake destroyed Meek Mill. He destroyed Meek Mill so bad that Meek Mill had to go back to jail just to level out some of that street cred. Because if you remember, Meek Mill went back to jail for a while on like this weird aspect of probation that they even tried to get changed as a law. So then Meek Mill became this like face of changing incarceration and changing the criminal justice system and everything, because he had to do something else for a little while because Drake really ate him up, all right? And so more time passes, and there's still not much between Kendrick and Drake in this moment, right? And then Drake gets into it. And I want to be clear, because a lot of people sometimes feel bad for Drake in a way that I want to be clear. He does start a lot of this stuff. He does like have a little thing in a song that implies that your wife is unfaithful, and then when you come at him directly, he's like, what's with all the hate? I'm all love. It's like, no. The best way I can describe it is that Drake kind of fights like a cat. And some rappers fight like dogs. And so, he'll do a little paw and he'll be like, what's the issue? And so Drake went at Pusha T, which was a true mistake. This is the thing about people like Pusha T, right? You don't want to mess with anyone who's actually had a hard life. Drake grew up in Canada, grew up with, this is my thing. A lot of people come at Drake for, they come at him in a way I don't like. They come at him in this colorism way where he's like, you're not really black because you're half white. I don't roll with any of that. I just truly think, but you see what I'm talking about. I'm not, y'all are trying to get me to do something I'm not doing. I'm just saying it's very hard for a rapper to seem hard, right? When they have not been through what other rappers have been through. It's hard to go hard when everybody knows you had health care. Because I'm not saying there aren't hardened criminals in Canada. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that if somebody knows that anytime you were sick, you could call a doctor. It just takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails of I'll kill you. It's yeah, but if I hurt you, you go to a doctor immediately. So anyway, Kendrick is still off doing his thing, releasing amazing music, but Drake gets into it with Pusha T, which was a mistake because he told Pusha T, he's like, I got more money than you, I got more women than you, I'm more famous than you'll ever be. And then Pusha T said, you have a son. He released the fact that Drake had a son, which people didn't know, on a track that's cover was Drake in blackface. Everything about what Pusha T did to Drake is why you don't get involved with people like Pusha T. You're a part of me felt bad for Drake. Drake was probably like John at the mouth and everything and didn't know he'd do research. Drake is sitting there guys, I thought we were rhyming. I thought we were making music. What is this? And so anyway, now Drake perceivably takes care of his son. And, whatever. And so fast forward some more, and you would think that Drake had sort of learned his lesson of man, I shouldn't throw stones when I might have a lot of kids. And for his part, I will say this, for his part, every time somebody comes at Drake, he does come at them pretty hard, pretty heavy. And he does release music that his fans love, and there are a lot of his fans. I'm saying that's something that I thought about going into this thing, where I was like, he always does really try to give you something, but what he gives is twofold. What Drake is usually trying to give you that sort of earworm, trying to give you that thing that takes you to a place beyond the beef. So now people will still play back to back and songs that were responses to beefs he's had in the past, just as songs to enjoy, and so this year, Drake and J. Cole started, they started doing appearances together. J. Cole would pop up at Drake's concert. And J. Cole is also someone who I genuinely believe is one of the most talented, phenomenal, musically inclined artists that I've encountered. I really enjoy his music. I don't know him as a person, and I think he's amazing, right? So he is on a couple of Drake songs after they appeared together last year, and it made me listen to those songs. I was like, oh, J. Cole, okay, because I admittedly I hadn't listened to Drake in a long time because I only have a certain amount of feelings. I feel like I got pretty far. I feel like I listened to several albums, and then at a certain point, I was like, I feel grown. Like, you know? And anyway, they do a song together, and then they do a song called First Person Shooter. And in First Person Shooter, they're going back and forth about how great the era is and how great they are. And First Person Shooter is a fantastic song, right? And then J. Cole in the song says, you'll forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but he says, maybe something like we're the top top two, three, okay. And then he was like, is it Kendrick, is it Aubrey, or me? Because we're the big three, like we started the league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali, right? And I guess Kendrick heard that and took it as a personal affront. I wouldn't have felt that way. Like if two people were like, man, we're the best ever, and Josh is great too, and I wasn't even there, I would be like, oh, thanks. But I'm not built like Kendrick. You know? And so then later we would also find out that apparently Drake tried to get Kendrick on that track. So he knew it was coming up and he didn't want any part of it. And then I guess he hated that he was mentioned. So then Metro Boomin and Future are rappers that... Because that could have been a label name. I'm not making fun of you at all. I'm just making sure everybody is up to speed and you're right in front of me. That's all that's happening, right? So Metro Boomin and Future, they release an album called We Don't Trust You, and on it is a track called Like That. Now, Like That is where Kendrick does essentially the control effect on this song. He does a verse that really made me forget it was a song. I don't know what anyone else said on the song, right? And on the song, he says, fuck the big three, it's just big me, right? Which is also, hey, I've always said I want to be the best. I've said it from day one. As soon as people started interviewing me, I said I want to be the best. As soon as people started listening to my music, I said I wanted to be the best. This is not out of character for me. This is the same thing I did 10 years ago, right? So just for me, if it were me, if I was one of them, if I was Drake and I heard fuck the big three, it's just big me, I also wouldn't take it as a personal affront. Because there were other things in the song where he came at Drake specifically. He didn't really have much for J. Cole. And yeah, it just sat for a while. It sat, and everybody was like, ooh, what are Drake and Cole gonna do? And then Cole was actually, I think, the first one to release. He released this song that he's since taken down called 7 Minute Drill, and he went at Kendrick in the song. And then he took it down, and a lot of people clowned him for it, but it's something that even, I'm not being a revisionist here. I said this when it happened. I was like, I respect the fact that he took it down. Because it's not something he really wanted to do. And the internet is all gas, no brakes. The internet will get you to mess up your life. Do you know what I mean? People you don't know are like, I wouldn't take that if I was you. What you gonna do? Huh? Do something, huh? Huh? People who are very safe at home, I wouldn't, if I was you, ooh, I'd go at his neck. I'd eat him alive if I was you. Do something, Jermaine, do it. Do it. And so he took it down, and he even said, he's like, I didn't feel like doing it, so it's not even good. I kind of just went at him a little bit, and it's true. In the song, he doesn't even say anything that bad. He's just like, one of your albums was boring. I won't even say which one. And then he took it down because he said, I don't know, this felt corny. And I respected the hell out of that. Very few men, grown men, famous men, powerful men, very few ever apologize. Very few ever apologize without being made to, with the threat of losing their money, losing their fame, losing something. Very few men. So I respect that, and people clowned him to no end. But then the actual beef between Drake and Kendrick started, and that was a lot. Because Drake released a song called Push-Ups, and he didn't just go at Kendrick, he went at a bunch of people and, implied that Kendrick's wife was unfaithful, that his son might not be his and everything. And people are like, ooh, what's Kendrick gonna do? What's gonna happen, right? And then, he releases another song, and this song is AI. This song is Drake with the late Tupac and Snoop Dogg, and it's going at Kendrick. And some people had their feelings about that. But then, oof. On a random morning, I was, it was right about the time I was supposed to say my prayers anyway. You know your morning prayers? Thank your God for waking me up this morning, right? And Kendrick dropped a song called Euphoria. And I think when it happened, a lot of people, including me, was like, oh, this is an actual rap beef now in the way that we had in the 90s. These dudes do not like each other. And Kendrick says he hates him in the song. He says, I hate you. He said it a lot. He said, I hate you a lot. He did artistically, but he was like, ooh, I hate you. Ooh. Ooh, I hate you. Ooh, right? And, woof. It was a lot, right? And then, Drake released. Actually, no, Kendrick released one. He released so many, I actually lost count. So then he released a song that I didn't even get to fully digest because he released, and then Drake released his response. And this was what Drake had been waiting for. This was all these, in my opinion, all these years of I was nice to you, and then you came at everybody, including me, and all I'm doing is writing my feelings down in albums and making money. And I just want to be number one. I just want to be the best with feelings. I want to be the best. And so he just took everything that he had, and he put it in a song called Family Matters, right? And 20 minutes later, Kendrick released a song called Meet the Grams, which is a real play off Family Matters. And he had said in 616 before, he was like, have you ever thought about the fact that people in your camp are working for me, that everyone hates you so much they feed me information about you, and that there's no way that you're going to win this because I write so many songs, because all I do is hang out with my wife and my kids and I write, right? This is all that I do. I enjoy this. This is my favorite thing to do, is just sit at home and hate you and write songs about you and how much I hate you, so I can go forever. This will never be over. We can chill. We can just go back and forth, and I'll release 20 for every one that you release. You keep saying that's a 1v20, and it is. It's one of you, and it's 20 songs of me every single day until the both of us die. This is old black man hate. You got to understand. This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen with people under 60 almost ever. This is old. We knew each other during the civil rights movement hate that he brought to this battle. And Drake was like, guys, I thought we were rhyming. And in Meet the Grams, he laid it down. He started the song by talking to Drake's son. Talking to Drake's son, being like, I'm sorry that's your father. Genuinely, I'm sorry that's your father, because I can tell he's not raising you well, because I can tell he's not living a good life and he's not a decent man, okay? And so if you don't understand this right now because you're 6, play it back when you're 18, okay? He said lots of things. He said things that are illegal. He said Drake was doing things that, you can listen to it. Woof. He even had this effect in the song. At the end of the song, when he's like, you lied, he called him a liar several times, and he's like, you lied. I was like, oh, that's too much. And he tells him about himself. He talks to his son, he talks to his dad, he talks to his mom, and then he talks to him directly, right? He also talks to, potentially, a daughter that Drake is not taking care of. Which I was listening to, I was like, not again. I feel like once they find the first kid, you gotta just get all the kids. You gotta just have a whole Graham family, just so you know where everybody is. You know? And people go back and forth. Does he have a daughter? Does he not have a daughter? Some people think they've even found the daughter, everything like that. And I don't know. I mean, it's really bad. It's so bad. And honestly, I never wanted it to get to a bad place. This is something, I'll talk about this more in the future and everything, but I have a deep love, but a strange relationship with hip hop, because if everything is in music, it's all good. It's when things leave music that things get bad, you know? And so as much as I joke about Drake and I like Kendrick and I've liked some of Drake's songs, I don't actually want them to do anything to each other. You know what I mean? Now, if what Kendrick is saying about Drake is true, we should lock Drake up. We should lock Drake up. And if what Drake is saying about Kendrick is true, we should lock Kendrick up, all right? Because, you know, it's a rap battle, two dudes that hate each other. Maybe they're lying, who knows? But I'm just saying, this thing, I didn't want to see anything bad happen to either one of them. But when Meet the Grahams got released, I don't know what Drake thinks, and I don't know what his life is like, especially right now. But I think back to those battles and those beefs in the 90s, and I wonder if Drake wasn't like, I'd like to be shot, please. Like if you could just plug me one time and then we can smooth the thing over. Because then, as if Meet the Grahams wasn't enough, Kendrick released a song called Not Like Us, which is the catchiest way to call somebody a I've ever heard in my life. You be dancing to it, forgetting what the song is about. Like, you know. And then Drake released The Heart Part 6. And I think that's when he lost. I think, because in The Heart Part 6, he's like, this was all part of my plan. We fed you information about me for you to say, so everything that you said is wrong. And don't you feel dumb now that I tricked you? And it just kind of felt like, you know, like what a kid, okay, you know, like when you play rock, paper, scissors, and you do rock, and the other kid does scissors, and you're like, and they're like, no, actually, these are lasers. Ba-pow, 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 ba-pow. Because I was like, Drake, if it was part of your plan to feed Kendrick information about you for him to rap about very well, by the way, like even if those are lies, they do sound good and they sound very true. Even if you fed him all this information about you to rap about to then look dumb when it was wrong, why'd you send him that stuff? That's the worst stuff you could send somebody. Hey, tell him this thing about me that's not true but was true once, and tell him I'm a thing that no one wants to be. So now that it's over, because I do hope it's over, I feel like Drake should just release some songs about some feelings. Did y'all see the Alabama brawl? Yo. Who knew Wakanda was in Alabama? That was crazy. You know, that was wild. So many people came out of nowhere. That shit was like Black January 6th. That was like... That was crazy. If you didn't see the video, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain it really quick. Basically, there was this one guy. He was an employee of the place, right? And he was like asking these people to move their boat, you know? So it was a black employee, but he was asking these people who happened to be white that had the boat to move their boat, and they wouldn't move the boat. I don't even know if this part is true, but I heard that the riverfront boat that was waiting to dock had been waiting for like 40 minutes because these people refused to move, right? So finally, he just keeps going, like, you gotta move the boat, you gotta move the boat. They get out of their boat, they're cursing at him, and he's not backing down. He's like, you have to move the boat. I work here, you have to move the boat. And then they just keep cursing at him. Finally, they put hands on him, and then they start fighting him. And he did his best. He held his own for quite a while. So it's not like they beat his ass, but they were clearly ganging up on this dude, right? And, you know, a lot of people, as soon as they saw the video, they got upset. I got upset when I thought it was going to bum me out, just seeing like 5 white dudes ganging up on this like middle-aged black dude and everything. And some people were upset about the racial part immediately. But I'm not going to lie. I was distracted. I wasn't. I didn't hate these people because they were ganging up on them and they were white. I hated them because they had a boat. You know what I mean? This isn't just a race thing. These rich fucks with a boat are trying to beat up a working class person. It's insane. You know, made me furious. And then they started fighting them, and then like other people came. And, you know, a lot of black people already saw what was happening. So then when the riverfront boat docked and other black people who saw what was happening, they all just swarmed. It looked like, you know, like that one episode in Game of Thrones where, you know, they were losing, but then just more just came down the mountain. It was like, I was like, God damn, okay, wow. Send in the troops, apparently. I should back up. When the fight started, the initial fight where the dude was getting ganged up on, he just threw his hat. Just threw it, and that almost felt like a signal. As a black person, I didn't know that was our call to arms. I didn't know this was like, oh, okay, all right, we go now. That was wild to begin with. Then it was crazy because then so many people swarmed in, it turned into a huge brawl, and I don't know if you saw a video, but there was one person that wanted to help when they saw him getting jumped so badly that this nigga swam. Jumped in the water. From the camera angle, we don't know where he came from. I'd like to think he came from Africa. I'd like to think he started swimming 6 weeks ago in preparation. Because look, if you know, you know, the history of black people swimming, especially in the South, you know that we're not known for it. You know what I mean? And so I'm not gonna critique his swimming because I was just happy to see another black dude swim. That's just, every one of us swimming is a W, okay? But I do have to comment, because he wasn't swimming normal. Did you see him swim? He wasn't swimming regular. This was not regular swimming, right? This man wasn't swimming to the fight. This man was punching the water till he got there. I knew he was gonna whoop ass when he got out of the water, because he was... I've never seen someone punch water till they got to their location. That was so crazy. Go back and watch the video. This man... punching with horsepower. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And then he gets out of the water, starts whooping ass, everybody whooping ass and everything. So you know that those white people, when it started fighting, then started more fighting, you know they were relieved when the cops got there, but they must have been conflicted, because half the cops were black. Like, that's a situation where even when the cops arrive, you're like, ooh, whose side are you on? Because I was kind of doing a thing before you got here. You know what I mean? Honestly, that's what's so wild. Because I think also, I've tried to put my mind in... I've tried to put myself in the mind of each person that was in the video in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a terrifying thing. To get jumped is a terrifying thing. Then the person swimming. Then I'm just trying to think about every angle that I could think about it from. I'm not gonna lie, that must have been a huge surprise, because you out here ganging up on this one dude with your buddies, and then before you know it, there's just like 50 black people. That's listen, I'm telling you right now, let's say y'all just blinked, and when you opened your eyes, there were 50 black people behind me. I'm not even saying you'd be scared, but you'd be surprised. You'd be like, wow, that was fast. That's all you'd say. You know? Because that's the thing. That's, I think, the strangest part, one of the weirdest parts, like when you start watching the video, let's say you start watching the video, you had no context, nobody told you what was gonna happen, you hadn't seen any of the memes yet. The craziest thing about what happens is that, especially as a black person, I think some people are curious why black people have been memeing the shit out of it and everything. It's because if you know the South and you know the history of 5 white guys ganging up on a black guy and how that usually goes, you know, especially when they have enough money for a boat. Usually doesn't turn out well, you know what I mean? And so this was a different thing. This is a different outcome than we've ever really seen before, you know? Because I'll be honest with you. Let's say we're in a different time and there's no camera phones and they were able to leave before the cops got there. They would have just beat up that dude and left, you know? And that's my thing, where it's like, okay, yeah, whoop their ass, we all laugh, we all celebrate, whatever, but like, fuck up that boat. Like, fuck up the... What are you doing? Like, bust up the bow or something. Like, rip a rudder out, please. I do think that would hurt them more than the ass whooping. They just be standing there and looking like skippers. Not the boat! You know? I used to work at a grocery store in a bad neighborhood. This is a terrible job. I lived in Chicago and I worked at this grocery store. It was horrible, right? And the thing I hate most about working at a grocery store is not good is the security not good. Because then security, anytime something would happen, the security would walk up to me and talk about what we're gonna do about it. Bro, I do this. You do this. And, all right, look, just hear me out. There was a guy who would come into our store, and he didn't come in often. It'd be like once every 2 months, maybe even once every 4 months if you were lucky. But this guy was crazy. And when he came in, he'd come in and he would fuck the lettuce. I know you're wondering how, let me explain. It didn't have to just be lettuce, but it was anything he could cut a hole in, he'd go to town, right? I worked there. What are y'all groaning about? I had to see this. And so this dude, man, he would come in, cut a hole, go to town. Security guard come up to me. Security guard came up to me one time and was like, he's back. I was like, that's a you problem. And I don't know. This, like, dude was clearly not all there in the head and everything, but yeah, he would just come in, he'd catch a melon or something like that, and just make juice. Like, this dude was. I know. But a security guard came up to me and was like, he's back, so I'm gonna need your help. I was like, all right, what do you need me to do? And he was like, so we're gonna walk on either side of him, right? We're gonna walk, so he's here, we're gonna walk either side, so we're sort of like, and he was like, I'm gonna need you to run interference. And he said it like it was a real thing. I should know what that means or whatever. And so we get to the point where we're both walking either side of him. And he looks over at me. This dude is distracted. This dude doesn't know what's going on in the world. This dude is fully with the lettuce, right? And locked in. And the security guard go. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, he's acting like he gave me a plan. There's no plan. I don't know what this means. And so he's like, So finally, I just yell out. I'm like, hey, dude, fucking the lettuce. And that dude turned around and faced me. And when he faced me, I was like, tackle him. And then he did. He tackled him. Got that dude to the ground. And you got to give credit where credit is due, okay? You do. To the security guard and to this dude, because this dude was so hard when he got up, the lettuce was still on him. That is crazy. I don't know if I've ever been that hard in my life. This dude got up. Hands being held. Like, it's not like he can help out for a quick second. Terrifying. I've been thinking a lot about the way that couples fight. Do you know what I mean? Like the way, just the tactics we use, and like, look, I want to be clear. I truly believe this. I've even said it on stage before. Everybody is doing everything. Don't like listen to people getting in your ear. Everybody's doing everything. everybody gaslights. Everybody, all this stuff like that. So I'm not saying that one thing can only be to one person with one identity. I'm just saying, like, I've just watched, and I feel like I just don't like fighting in a relationship, because I date women, and women wait. It's terrifying. Women will let you think you won a whole fight, and then it's coming soon. And you don't even know what it is. It's not been planned yet, but it's gonna happen. My uncle got in an argument with his wife, and I don't even know what it was about, but must have been feeling himself, because when the argument was done, he'd walk around, man of the house. He middle-aged, so he pulling that belt up a little higher. And sure enough, he called me one day. This is apparently weeks after the fight. My man calls me, and he's like, I'm gonna need you to pick me up. I need you to pick me up, come get me, I need some help, young blood, like I just said. And I was like, what's wrong? And he's like, okay, so we had a little argument, all right? So we had a quick little argument, and I thought everything was fine, but it's the day to take me to the optometrist, because I broke my glasses, and she talking about she not gonna take me. And I told her, I'm like, baby, I'm blind. Come on now. And she over here talking about you don't deserve to see. Like, y'all have been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I was having a conversation with a friend from back home, and so many things work in connection together to get me where I am. I saw this article about this guy. I think his name's, I might be mispronouncing it, but Brian Mwende, and he is in Kenya, and he was a lawyer. He was a fake lawyer. And he won 26 cases straight. 26 cases straight, one after the other. WWWW. And then they finally caught him. And now he is awaiting trial, where I pray he represents himself. That's phenomenal. 26, you got fake, and apparently it's a whole thing. I didn't know this. In Kenya, this is a whole thing. There are a bunch of fake lawyers, because he was just the first one. There's a bunch of fake lawyers that just never actually passed the bar, but they've been practicing. I guess they got a storefront or something. Like, I don't know, you just walk in and you're like, you seem like a lawyer. You know, the only way I know any lawyer has been a lawyer that I've ever worked with was the paper on the wall behind their desk. If that's fake, I have a fake lawyer. Meanwhile, in America, we have, okay. So my friend from back home that I worked with, we used to work together, and he wasn't always on the right path, right? So he used to be involved in some gang shit and everything. And he got caught up on some drug charges. But these drug charges were not things he actually did, right? So he almost went in confident. Okay, I know I have a past, I have a rap sheet, but I wasn't even there. I did not do this thing. His lawyer graduated from Cooley. If you don't know what Cooley is at least spoken of as the worst law school in America. It is where, famously, Michael Cohen went. Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer, who went to jail. Do you know how bad of a lawyer you have to be representing somebody else and you go to jail? Do you know what I'm saying? Trump still hadn't been to jail, and his lawyers keep going to jail. The level of crime you have to do for the jail to miss you and hit whoever is standing behind you is crazy. But it was Michael Cohen's fault. He did his crime, you know, he went ahead, went to jail and everything. But Cooley, apparently, is not a great law school. I didn't know this, but this is something that came up whenever Michael Cohen went to prison. And it was confirmed by my friend who had this drug charge, had a lawyer representing him that went to Cooley. And lawyer walks in, public defender, right? Walks in and doesn't say hello, doesn't ask him really anything, just goes, how much time can you do? And he was like, I shouldn't do any time. I wasn't there. I did. And the lawyer cut him off. Fuck all that, all right? How much can you handle? Like, in your spirit, how much time can you do? I just don't want to see you broken. You know, you're a young man. We might be able to get... And he's like, have you talked to the prosecution already? He's like, no, I haven't talked to him, but I heard he good, okay? It's like, did he offer a deal or something? Ain't no deal right now, man. Just answer my question. So they end up going to trial, right? And during the trial, there's just a random day that his lawyer and the prosecution get called up by the judge, come see me in my chambers, right? Full, like, Law and Order. And then they're gone for like 8 minutes. And when the door opens, he sees his lawyer, the Cooley graduate, walking out in handcuffs. He doesn't even know what this dude did, but he leaned over to him as he was getting walked out and was like, I did my best. This year has been really, really wild in the ways of how labor works. There have been 312 strikes this year. Different organizations, things that have nothing to do with each other, all striking, different places, right? And that tells you something. That tells you a bigger thing is happening, you know? And I think that it also tells you that you can only treat people a certain way. You can only underpay them. You can only take so much from them before they can't take it anymore. You know what I mean? Because striking comes at a cost. It comes at a heavy cost. And you should ask yourself what that means when someone is striking, which is already a cost to them, and they're doing it anyway. That means that they have so little left to lose, they might as well roll the dice, you know? And it's across so many different industries. Alaskan school bus drivers had a strike. I don't even know what that job is, really. Like, it sounds like most of it is in the name. And I imagine it's like ice road truckers, but with kids, you know what I mean? They had a strike. Nurses banded together and had a strike. One of the largest strikes we've seen from nurses. And that's one of those professions where you just give those people what they need. Just do it. The nurses, a nurse. And they've already in some places reached some sort of agreement, which happened quickly, because it has to. I feel like maybe the executives that work at hospitals wanted to hold out. They were like, fuck them nurses, we ain't giving them shit. And then they immediately fell down some stairs. And they were like, just bring them to the table. God, oh God. Walgreens has strike. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know about this. Walgreens pharmacists had a walkout. There were strikes at a bunch of different Walgreens. You better give those people what they need, because without a pharmacy, Walgreens is just a bad bodega. Truly, it is. You know, it's not great. It's just a bodega where every item is in prison. You know what I mean? That is truly devastating. I hate that so much, because then you go to a Walgreens, you go to a CVS, you gotta hit the button. Now you gotta wait. And who knows how long you'll wait, you know what I mean? It could be 2 minutes, it could be till the end of somebody's shift, you know what I mean? It's just, you're waiting there, and then you got to point too. That's the worst part. So now you got to point, and then you got to point at which one you need. So now they know exactly what size of condom. It's not even a whole thing that they can open. It's just like, so you want the mediums, or what do you? I've been thinking about this a lot. There's something to be said for how we talk about porn, right? I get it. Porn gives men unrealistic expectations, but I think it gives everybody unrealistic expectations of sex. Because porn makes men think as soon as they touch you with their penis, you're gonna freak out. You know what I mean? If they just put the dick on the shoulder, you're gonna be like, that's not how life works. And porn gives women unrealistic expectations of sex, because it makes women think sex is about to be like good or whatever. But the thing that's really important to remember, the thing that keeps me grounded as a person, is that I go ahead and I watch the bloopers. You have to watch the bloopers. This is the thing. When you watch porn, one of the reasons people have unrealistic expectations is because they forget that when you watch porn, you're watching an edit. You know what I mean? Those are very sexy people who have sex for a living, but they're also doing the best of clips right now. They're not showing you everything. When you watch the bloopers, you realize even porn stars, they get down like us. There's a lot getting puffed out. There's a lot of just like lots of things that humanize the experience. You know? One of my favorite ones, it wasn't even really a blooper, it was just like an outtake, I guess, just some extra footage. And there was a guy who had what I can only describe as too big of a penis. Now I know that makes it sound like I got a small penis or something, but truly, for the safety of the actress involved, this was untenable, okay? I was worried for her, all right? So anyway, they're going at it, and they're making all the noises you'd expect. It's him going, oh, him like, ah, like just a nonstop of that. And then out of nowhere, this man stopped, walked away, walked over to the crabs table, and grabbed a Snickers and started eating. And I was like, you know what? Yes, we need to incorporate more snack breaks into sex. That should actually be the Snickers commercial right there. It should be somebody, These are both good. I like them both. You know? One of my favorite bloopers though was this. There was once again a guy, very well endowed, going at it, just really giving it his all, putting all of his creative energy into the scene. Okay, and then he's like really like all this stuff like that, and then he clearly catches a Charlie horse. And I looked like the DiCaprio meme for a second. I was like, yeah, me too. I do that all the time. We should really stretch before we get, wow. And then my man is over there, and you can see him trying to push through it. Just like... And then at one point, when he has a Charlie horse, he goes like, which I guess is the same noise he makes when, And so then she's like, did you? And he's like, no, So then the actress sits down and you see her from the front for the first time. And it is funny because she's not looking at the camera, but the camera's still rolling. And he over here limping, trying to stop it out. And she just goes... Y'all have been so great. Thank you so much. I'm Josh Johnson.